Here is how to set up an ad inside of Facebook Ads Manager. And welcome back to another video in this series of Facebook advertising, everything Facebook ads. I'm Alex, I'm a platform entrepreneur, meaning I make money on these different platforms that exist on top of the internet nowadays. And so this series is all about Facebook ads. And in this video, I'm showing you how to create a Facebook ad. So what we want to do is go to the Facebook Ads Manager, and from there we will create an ad. And now I'm going to show you how to get to the Facebook Ads Manager from inside of the Facebook Business Manager. If you didn't watch my last video about how to set up a Facebook Business Manager and what it is, go check that out. It's worth the watch. And if you don't use Facebook Business Manager or don't want to, then this first step, just don't worry about it. So I'm here inside of my Business Manager, and I'm going to click on this drop down menu up here, Create and Manage. Under this section, I'm going to click on Ads Manager. And now we're where we need to be to start creating an ad, and we want to create a campaign. So how this is all broken down is you create a campaign, and then within a campaign you can have different ad sets, and then within those ad sets you can even have different ads. So it kind of funnels like that. You go from campaign to ad set to ads. Hope that makes sense. So what we're going to do first is create a campaign. And the way we do that is just click this green button here, create, and you have two options here. You can create a shell or a complete campaign. We're going to create a complete campaign right now, so go ahead and click select guided creation, and then now we can begin to choose from several different options. And there's three main categories that these options are broken down into: awareness, consideration, and conversion. And so basically awareness is just that, sending out ads to build awareness around something, whether it's a product, a personal brand, whatever it may be. And then right here in this column, you have all these options. The main ones I'm going to focus on and talk about are traffic and lead generation. I'll explain what those are in a second, and then conversions over here. So actually, I'll just explain. So traffic is just simply that, if you're sending traffic from a Facebook ad to somewhere. So say if I wanted to run Facebook ads that sent people to my YouTube channel, traffic is probably what I would use. Lead generation is self-explanatory, but that's really cool because it is actually built into Facebook, meaning when you run a lead gen ad, people are able to click that ad, and in that ad itself, without ever leaving the ad or leaving Facebook, they can input their email address, and you can collect that email address within that ad itself. And lead gen hasn't been around for super long on the Facebook ad platform, so it's super cool, super powerful. We'll jump into that more actually in a later video. I'll probably just set up a traffic ad in this example, and then we'll create a whole separate video on lead gen, because that's super important. So make sure you're subscribed and having notifications enabled to catch that video. And then this over here is conversions, and this is for if you're trying to track sales. So if you're running an ad and you're pushing people to, say, a product page, a Shopify product page, and you want to be able to track how people convert. So basically what you want to do is know if that ad, the money you're spending on that ad, if you're spending $1 on that ad, you want to see, is it leading to $2, $4, $8, $10, or are you losing money on it? And so how you figure that out is by tracking your conversions. And so if you're selling something and you're sending people from a Facebook ad to whatever it is you're selling, conversions is probably what you want to use to keep track of all of that. And again, in a later video, I'll be showing you how to track those conversions, how to set everything up so you can track them, and also how to analyze if your ad is converting profitably. So we've got traffic selected. Scroll down here and give the campaign a name. I'm just going to call this traffic example. I'm going to skip over this create split test, cover that in a different video. And then budget optimization, if you just hover over that I, it explains what it is. I'm not going to turn that on for now. So I'm just going to click set up ad account. Okay, United States, US dollars, time zone. If you're in a different location or different currency, change those around as needed. Click continue. All right, and this is where we actually start. This first page here is where we do the targeting, and then once we click on continue down here, then it will take us to the actual creation of the creative, the actual ad, the image, the copy, all of that. All right, right here you can put the ad set name. I usually go in and set all of my targeting, and then I in the ad set name, I just put what all of my targeting is, so I'll show you that in a second. Okay, so custom audiences, again, another video gonna go completely over custom audiences, what that is, how to set them up. But this is where you can select a custom audience. There aren't any in here right now because I haven't created any inside of this Facebook ad account. But again, different video will be showing you how to create custom audiences, lookalike audiences, so that you can select them right here and target those audiences. Locations, this is where you choose countries, cities, etc. that you want to target. So right now it's currently set to United States. If I could click that X and remove it, and I could, say I wanted to target India, I could click India, right? Or if I wanted to do a city, I could do Los Angeles. Oops. And choose Los Angeles, California. And then right here, I can change the radius. So if I want to target people within 25 miles of Los Angeles, or 10 miles, or I could change it to 50. And you can add as many locations as you want. You can add in, say New York City. Okay, and then maybe we want 10 miles, something like that. And then right here you can change the age, so maybe you want to target 20 to 35-year-olds, right? And then you can also choose gender. Maybe you want to only target 20 to 35-year-old women. And then language, you can enter languages. So English, since we're targeting in the United States, might make a lot of sense. Or maybe you want to target people that know Spanish inside of the United States. And so you just type in Spanish and click Spanish right here. And so now you're targeting the United States minus Los Angeles and minus New York, 20 to 35-year-old women that speak Spanish. And then the detailed targeting section right here is where Facebook advertising becomes really, really powerful. And with advertising, just kind of in general, you want to target people, like specific people. You want to be specific about your targeting. So I'll just give you a quick example here of how this should work, and I'll use my personal work, like stuff that I've done and do, to kind of give you an example here. So for the past few years, I've been launching Kickstarter campaigns, if you're familiar with Kickstarter.com. And so a large part of that is using Facebook ads to drive traffic to those campaigns. And so one thing I would do here is let's actually do this. My demographics might actually be a little different. I'll set this up as if I were targeting someone for a Kickstarter campaign. So I'd go United States, 20 to 35 makes sense. I'd probably even go men, because Kickstarter demographic tends to be much more male than female. I'd choose English, and then right here I can target an interest, and I can target the Kickstarter interest right here. And if we look over here on the right, it tells us the size of this Kickstarter interest, which is a little over 15 million. And what the interest actually is all the people that like the Kickstarter Facebook page on Facebook. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm targeting all the people that follow the Kickstarter Facebook page on Facebook. And so you can see how that would make a lot of sense if I'm promoting a Kickstarter campaign. If I'm marketing a Kickstarter campaign, make a lot of sense to target people on Facebook that like the Kickstarter page. Okay, now let's switch it up, and let's say that I'm selling an outdoor product, and this is another one that I've actually done. Let's say it's a hammock or hammock related. So I've sold hammock straps before. And so what I did is I came in here and I typed in hammock, and then I targeted hammock camping. Now this is a much smaller audience, 130,000, but that's totally fine. In fact, maybe even better. The more narrow and the more targeted you can be, it's much more likely that your ad will perform better, meaning that you'll drive more traffic, or if you're selling something, that you'll be able to convert better than if you target huge audiences. But it's always worth testing. So for example, the hammock straps that I briefly mentioned, I did a Kickstarter campaign for those hammock straps. And then this box right here gives you estimated daily results. So with these settings and targets that I currently have selected, it's estimating that I'll reach 4,800 to 16,000 people when I run this ad. Now if I set this back to 35, click off Kickstarter, and let's say hammock camping, and I choose that. Now watch how that potential reach changes. Now I'll potentially reach 23,000 people. And then on a daily estimate, 2,100 to 6,000, and that also gives you the link clicks estimate as well. Okay, and here's another really cool feature that you can use inside of this detailed targeting section. So I'm going to type in Kickstarter again. And now if we look right here, there's exclude people and narrow audience. Narrow audience is extremely powerful because if I click that, now I'm targeting all of those Kickstarter people, 20 to 35-year-old men that like the Kickstarter page on Facebook. Now I can narrow that audience if I type in right here, hammocking, hammock, and I select hammock camping. You'll see that the potential reach just dropped by a ton to 6,700, but now I've gone super specific. I've targeted people that like hammock camping that also know about Kickstarter. Or you could say the opposite of that. You could say I've targeted Kickstarter people that also like hammock camping. And so it's made my audience very specific and very narrow, very targeted. And this is actually what performed the best for me on that campaign because it was so dialed. Now those examples I just showed you were very particular. It was Kickstarter and hammocks. But you can type all sorts of things into here, right? So we could type in Nike, and Nike shows up. You could type in fitness, and you have different fitness options, right? You could type in CrossFit, and now you have CrossFit options. I don't know, I've got this water bottle right here that's Hydro Flask, right? Not sponsored. I could type that in right there. And now I could target the Hydro Flask page, the people that like the Hydro Flask page on Facebook. So all different sorts of things you can type in there. What you want to do is target interests that are very specific and related to whatever it is you're selling. And so what you want to do is come up with a bunch of different interests that are very related to whatever you're selling or promoting. Type them in here and target them and then test them. So like when I start running Facebook ads for a product, I come in here and I'll create, I don't know, anywhere from 5 to 10 to 20 or more different ad sets targeting different interests. And then I test all of those different interests and see which ones perform better. I turn off the ones that aren't performing well, and I keep the ones that are performing well on, and maybe even up the spend, increase the budget so that more is being spent, so that ad is shown to more people since it's performing so well. And then you can also click this browse, and you can, browse through different demographics, interests, behaviors is really interesting. Let's see, let's click on travel, and then you've got all these different types of travel behaviors, right? You've got business travelers, you have casino vacations, you've got timeshares. So there's just nearly limitless options here. So it's up to you as the marketer to figure out which ones make sense for the product that you're promoting or trying to sell. Alright, I'm going to move past that now and come down here to placements. And placements is where your ad is shown. So if you keep it at automatic, Facebook will decide that for you. If you click edit placements, scroll down a little bit, now you have all these different places where you can choose for your ad to be shown. So right here just under Facebook, there's feeds, instant articles, in-stream videos, right column, suggested videos, marketplace. So let's say I just want the ad to be shown inside of the Facebook feed. I'll click off all of these other ones. And then you've got Instagram right here. So let's say I only want my ad to be shown to Facebook feeds. I unselect all these other ones and leave just the feed selected under Facebook, and that's where my ad will be shown. But if I want it to also be shown in instant articles and Instagram feed and Messenger inbox, then I can do that as well. Now what I personally like to do, and there's just so many different strategies that you can use and different strategies that work, and it's all very dependent on what you're promoting, what you're selling, what you're trying to accomplish. Like there's just so many variables when it comes to all of this. So just be willing to play around and sit here and just like think about things, think things through, like what different things could mean, you know, because I can't cover nearly everything, and it just wouldn't make sense for me to try and like tell you how to actually run all these ads, because I have no idea what you're running the ads for or what you're trying to sell. So you've got to put some of those pieces together for yourself and do your own testing and learning. But what I personally like to do most of the time is I would run only to Facebook feeds, and I would create an ad set for that. And then if I wanted to, and then what I would do is I'd leave all of this targeting up here exactly the same, but instead of running it just to Facebook feeds, I would run it to Instagram feed. I'd turn off Facebook feeds, and then I'd run this ad. And then I could come back and look at the data and see, is it performing better? Is it better for me to run the ad to Facebook feeds or Instagram feeds? And the reason I separate those out instead of having them both turned on on the same ad is because if they're both selected right now, then I'm going to have a really hard time knowing which one's performing better. Is Instagram feed working better, or is Facebook feed working better? I'm not really going to know that if I have them both selected on the same ad set. So what I do instead is I create two different ad sets, one that's going to be shown to the Facebook feed and the other to the Instagram feed. And then I can get the data back and see which one works better than the other. Alright, so there's all those different placement options, and if you don't want to bother with that, you can just do automatic placements. I don't ever do automatic placements, honestly. I always choose, like I said, I like to test things out quite a bit, and so I like to edit placements and choose exactly where I want the ads to be shown. Right here you can select mobile devices, so you can choose to target Android devices only or iOS devices only. And then right here, budget and schedule is where you choose how much you're going to spend on the ad. So you can set a daily budget. You could set it for $5. You could set it for $100, right? Now, as I change those numbers, watch what happens over here to the estimated daily results. So right now for $100 a day, 29,000 to 130,000 reach with 3,400 to 2,100 link clicks. If I change that to just $5, that drops a lot, right? To 1,300 to 7,300, 22 to 140. So how much you spend absolutely makes a difference. And Facebook is super awesome because you can spend $5 on an ad and see if that ad works or not. Five might not be enough, but oftentimes it can be. I typically like to spend on an ad 20 or more, but it's all very dependent on how much budget you have to work with. So if all you have is $5, or if you have $20 but you want to test 4 different ad sets, then a $5 daily budget might be what you want to do. And you can get enough data back to, in lots of cases, to know if that ad is a good one or not. But one thing to consider when setting your daily budget is it enough budget for it to be shown to enough people for you to get enough data back to make a savvy decision, to make a smart decision. So you've got to consider that, but that is something super dope about Facebook, is being able to run ads for tiny amounts of money, right? Think TV commercials or radio or newspapers, how Facebook or how advertising used to be done. You had to spend a lot more money than just $5 and to see if it worked. And I won't get all into it, but it was even harder to track back then. This, you can spend $5, get the data back, see if it works or not. Super cool. You could even spend less than $5, right? That's possible as well. And you don't necessarily have to set a daily budget. You can set a lifetime budget, and then you can set a start and end date, and then it will spend that budget across the dates that you've selected. But I'm going to change it back to daily. And I'm going to just leave it at $20. And right here, I'm going to select run my ad set continuously starting today and click continue. All right, and this is where the creative happens. This is where you're writing copy. This is where you're choosing images, videos, all of that. And so Facebook page is this section. Oh, you can set an ad name up here if you want. Oh, actually, I'll do that. Let's go back here to ad set, and I'll show you how I name my ad sets. Again, this is just completely my preference. You can come up with whatever kind of names you want. But if I'm doing, let's say the target is Kickstarter. So I'd name my ad set something like Kickstarter 2035 male US, and then I would select just the Facebook feed if that's what I was trying to do. Whoops. And I'd add that to the name. So that way when I come back in and look at my campaign and how the ads are doing, I know I can read just in the ad set name exactly what my targeting was, and so I don't have to click in and see how I set everything. Alright, so moving forward to the creative, actually creating the ad. Right here is where you choose a Facebook page or an Instagram placement if you're doing Instagram. And then right here is where you choose what kind of ad or what kind of format or content you're going to use. So you have a carousel option, which is where you have like a few different images and you can click an arrow to go to the next one, click an arrow, go to the next one. Single image is just boom, one image right there. Single video, slideshow, collection. Those are pretty straightforward, self-explanatory, but you can click in and learn a little bit more about those. And then, so let's say just choosing a single image, right here is where I can upload an image. So if I click there, it brings this box up and I can select something from my computer. Browse library is if you already have uploaded images into your library. So if I go like this, just use that. Okay, that's uploaded. If I look at browse library now, you can see that it's right there. And right here, this section gives you an ad preview, so it'll show you what your ad looks like. It's not showing up for me right now because I haven't selected a Facebook page, because this is just a dummy Facebook account for me. I don't actually use this, and I'm not going to create a Facebook page right now. But right here is where you'd see what your ad is looking like as you're creating it. And so this image that I selected right here, you'd see that show up right here if I had a Facebook page selected. And then right here, you select the link type for your ad. So if you're sending someone to your website, copy the link to your website, then paste it right here. And right here, you can set your text. This is the smaller text that shows up on top of your ad. And right here is the headline, which is the bigger, bolder text that shows up at the bottom of your ad. And then right here, you have different call to action buttons. You can select whichever one makes sense for you. Maybe it's sign up. And that's pretty much it. And then all you have to do is click confirm, and your ad will start to be shown to the people that you've targeted. Now obviously there's quite a bit in here that I didn't go into very much detail on. There's just so much to cover, but I hope you got a pretty good idea of how to target and how to actually create the ad. Any questions that you have or anything you might want to see like a more in-depth full video on, let me know in the comments. I'll definitely be reading through those and creating any videos that seem like they'll be helpful for you guys. One thing I will say is once you click confirm, the ad does need to be approved, and that shouldn't take very long, so don't be super concerned if it's not approved right away. But I will say give the ad some time to run. Like you're not going to be able to come back and look at it in 30 minutes and see how it's performed. You've got to give it some time. Like I would say a day, 2 days, even more. Like if you can run an ad for a week, then that's awesome. Then you can really come back and see how well it performed or how well it didn't perform, right? But so just give it some time. Give it at least a day, 2 days to get data back and see how it's actually performed.